Welcome to Tales of Blue, episode 36. Joining me today is a player who spent over 10 years at Main Road from the age of 14. He saw 8 managers come and go, including caretakers, during that period in which he battled to regain full fitness on numerous occasions due to a wretched run of injuries, which put paid to a promising City career before it really got going. Welcome, John Foster. How you doing, John?
I'm all right, thanks, Mark. Yeah, very well. Are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks. And thanks for joining us tonight.
No problem.
So Manchester-born John, who was the young John Foster's idols growing up, and which team did you support?
Well, contrary to what some people will have you believe, I've always been a City fan, but I did used to go to Old Trafford with a neighbour of mine back in the day. We used to get the bus on Saturdays because he was a big United fan, so he just, rather than not go to football, he'd often just offer to take me and a few of his mates, a few of my mates. So we used to go for the odd week to Old Trafford. But I've always been City fan. We're all Blues. Me, my brother, me daughter, my wife, my son's crazy for like City. So yeah, we've always loved City and followed City. And oh yeah, so I think back in my heroes, kind, if you liked, all the people I looked up to were Lakey, people like Ian Brightwell, Bob Redhill, people like that who were playing around that time.
A lot of the youth team lads who came through 86 and won the Youth Cup.
Paul Molden, people like that. So because back then, obviously, City won the Youth Cup, so they were renowned for the youth. So and then when they go on to play regularly, which they did, David White and like in the first team, it makes you sit up and take notice, kind of things. It's something that, oh, I want a bit of that, or that's what you strive for. So they were kind of the people myself, I looked up to as a young lad growing up.
Well, the first team weren't set in the world alight, John, were they? So it was them youth team lads who were sort of a bit of success in the 80s. So you joined City age 14. What was the path to Main Road, John? I believe you signed trainee forms around July 92. So what was your path to joining City?
Yeah, so I as you say, I joined at age 14. I'd been approached to sign across the road at United. So it was a choice between United or City, and I chose City.
It wasn't a choice, John, was it?
Well, it wasn't a hard choice. I made the right choice in my eyes, but I was scouted, if you want for of a better phrase, by Eric Mullender. Very famous, very well known still. He's more famous, if you like, for being the one who's spotted Ryan Giggs. And I still, to this day, speak to Eric, keep in touch with him and his wife Jean. So he's retired now, but I still get to see him and phone him regularly. So, and he was he was such a fantastic man. So he was kind of one of the big reasons for me signing for City, along with, obviously, as we just mentioned, the potential for that pathway to the first team. Or that's what you could foresee for yourself. So, and then I had a conversation with Ken Barnes, who was another fantastic man, and it was a no-brainer, really. So I signed at 14, and I was guaranteed, if you like, a schoolboy forms till I was 16, and then a 4-year deal after that. So it was always on the cards, and I couldn't think of anything better for me to do at 14.
Yeah. So Peter Reid, I think, was the first team manager around that stage. Did you ever have any encounters with Peter? Did he pay much attention to the younger lads coming through at that time?
Yeah, kind of, but he'd been, obviously, and was in and around the England setup, so he was a big name, if you like. And then he come in as player manager. He brought a lot of his old friends and mates and so on from Everton across. So it was a big Scouts contingent for a while. But he knew who you were. He would come and watch you play when you were playing in the reserves and so on. But it wasn't anything major, I wouldn't say. I think most of the younger boys, if you like, the YTS lads, we just got left alone and as such until such time as any of us, started to catch the eye. We might get pushed to train with the first team the odd time. It was opportunities to train with them and play with them were few and far between.
So who do you recall making the most impression on you during them really early days at the club, John?
I had a really good relationship with Skip, Tony Buck. He was obviously a fullback, and I think and Glyn Pardoe, they were our youth coaches at the time. I had spent a couple of great years with Colin Bell. Wow, he came in to manage the A team. As it was then, we had an A and a B team that played in the Lancashire League on Saturdays, so built a great rapport with him. Had a lot, obviously, the standing he had in football. At the time for us, it was gold dust for us to listen to or have someone like him training us and coaching us and giving us advice. It was priceless. So yeah, those type of people. I built up really good relationships with around the time, I think. And again, like I say, Glyn and Skip were fullbacks, so I think I kind of bought into that as well, and that was my prominent position. So
many of the lads from that youth team went on to appear in the first team, the likes of Scott Thomas, Steve Lomas, Richard Edger, all breaking through. What are the memories of that squad as a youth team? And are you still in touch with any of the boys from that period, John?
Yeah, I was still in touch with Scott Thomas regularly, Adi Mike, Stevie Lomas, Dave Kerr, lads that I went on to play youth team football with, and a lot of them, not all of them went on to play first team football, but we're still in touch. We still have a group WhatsApp. We still meet up once or twice a year. We play a game every year. For the last 10 years, we've met up every year and we've played against a Welsh vets team. So we're still in touch. We've got a fantastic, we call ourselves the real class of 92.
Yeah, I'll agree with that for sure.
A bit of tongue in cheek, obviously.
Yeah,
but
obviously.
The relationship we've got, it's unbelievable because we've all got, it
says a lot for that squad, John.
Yeah.
Back how long ago it was, if you're still all in touch now, and it's
and we still meet. Yeah, we still meet. This year was we met and we met twice this year. We went down to South Wales to play Welsh vets team, and then we played up here and we played at Platt Lane purposely because it was 30 years since 92.
Wow, yeah.
And then we all went out in the afternoon. Daz McHugh, he never really made a name for himself in football, but he's gone on to be very successful in business, and he's got a couple of restaurants in Manchester. So he put us in one of his restaurants in the evening. All the wives went and so on. So it was really good.
I was going to say to you, John, looking back, was there a player from that squad who didn't make it into the first team and perhaps you were surprised that didn't have a career in the game?
It's difficult. Some of them were very, like that. I mentioned Daz McHugh, they're a very technical player, little midfielder who I don't think he was ever really given a great opportunity. He was very quiet and so on. But so people like that, I don't think was really given the attention that they probably deserved to go and develop themselves. Again, there's other players, like we had a centre forward, Mickey Byrne, a local lad, but scored goals for fun, like at youth level and so on, but never went on to make that next step. I think he'll openly admit some of it was down to his own self, but probably he didn't get the support that he maybe needed. So, but it was difficult because there was so many, so many of us. I could go on and name them all, but it was. It's just one of those things. You do need a lot of luck, and I think there was a good handful of them who didn't get it.
Sure. So what's the best bit of advice that was given to you from those youth team days that maybe still sticks with you now?
Yeah, I used to get advice all the time from like Tony Buck. He'd often pull you on your own. And I think you're going through times where, you might feel a little bit undervalued. But he could see that in you. in your persona. He'd pull me to one side a few times, just have a quick chat with me and tell me that in his own, West Country accent, hey, listen, you're a good player. You need to believe in yourself a little bit more. You'll have a future. You need to, you've had a few tough times, but you need to keep going. You're a good player. And with him being a fullback, he'd offer me advice and so on and so on. So I think it was just, Tony Buck was great for that, as was Glyn. He was more of a joker in the pack, but he was also, you didn't want to cross him.
Yeah.
So, and Colin Bell again, those three really. I mean, if you're getting advice from three people that are, you shouldn't go far wrong.
Well, I'm thinking when them guys spoke, the lads tended to
listen. Yeah, of course you did.
Legends of the game.
Yeah, you have nothing but respect for him, and it was fantastic to think and look back now and think, wow. Yeah. At the time, it's just the normal because you're going into work every day. If you like training and these people are there, it becomes the norm. But now, when you actually have time to sit and think, you think, wow, did that really happen to me? And it did. So, for that, you're always grateful. And I try and pass that on now to my son.
Fantastic. So a change of manager during 93-94 sees Brian Horton replace Reid, who hands you a first-team debut at Newcastle on the 1st of January 1994. When did you find out you'd be involved with the first team squad, and what are your memories of that fixture?
Yeah, so it was obviously over New Year, and New Year's Eve we travelled up and we went in for training the day before, and Brian Horton pulled me just prior to going out to training. He said, "You with us, Fozzie? You'll be with us this weekend." And I'm thinking, oh, right, fair, great. I'm traveling. I'm going to be like 16th man or whatever, 15th man. And I said, oh, brilliant, Gaffer, nice one. And he went, no, you're with us. You'll be playing. This was Thursday. I said, you have to tell me that. What did you say, Gaffer? He went, you're playing. I said, you'll be playing. He went, you're making your debut this weekend. I went, I literally couldn't say anything. And I thought, so
you had no inkling leading up to that weekend that you'd be.
Nothing. I mean, listen, I knew I'd been doing quite well. I'd been, my form was good, and I thought Skip again had pulled me to one side and said, "Listen, you're doing really well. You've got a chance. You keep going." And he was kind of had that glint in his eye, and I thought, oh, didn't want to read too much into it in case you get disappointed. But yeah, when he told me, it was like wow. And then I went and trained with the first team that day and that morning, and then pulled me in again in the afternoon. Him and Dave Moss, who I'm still in contact with now, and he basically said, they both basically, listen, you're with us, come into training tomorrow, bring your gear with you, we're going up. That would have been New Year's Eve. We're traveling up tomorrow, we're staying over, and then you were playing. So I was like, wow. I went, and that was pretty much it. And I went home and straight to Stud Club Menswear in Middleton and bought a new outfit.
Kitted out.
Inside.
So what for the game itself, Joel? I imagine St James's Park would have been a good atmosphere, even more so New Year's Day. Yeah. So what do you remember of the game? I know the result didn't go our way, but from a personal point of view.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, nervous, yeah. Massively nervous. I roomed with Alan Kernahan the night before. I've got to say, he was brilliant with me. Couldn't really eat breakfast the next day because of nerves. Got to the ground just to build up, see the fans, which is something you're not used to. Geordie fans are, fanatics at the best of times, and went about the same process pre-match and so on and so on, and then come back in after you warm up and you got an idea of what it's going to be like just in the warm up. Come back in and Skip was there with he's he could see I was a little bit apprehensive, nervous, and whatever. He gave me a little shot of whiskey. Yeah, get that down here. I thought, what now? And he went, yeah, get it down here. Went in, could feel the warmth go from your head to your feet, and it was kind of just really settled me. I think it's an old school. You'd never do that now, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
An old school way. And it kind of settled me. I played the game. My instructions were to mark Peter Beardsley, wow. One of my heroes as growing up. Fantastic man for me. I still, whenever we pass cross paths, we speak to each other. And I had to mark him man for man, and I thought, wow. And he was in and around England at the time. He was flying. I mean, him and Andy Cole up front, wow. And 20 seconds in, maybe a minute in, I'm hearing Fozzie, huge shout. And I'm concentrating so hard, and it was the bench, and he said to me, "He's over there." And I'm like, turning around, and he was such like a fox. He was stood
Yeah,
100 whatever meters away from me. I'm thinking, oh my, he was literally stood at the side of me, and within seconds he was somewhere. So
fantastic player.
Wow, this is another level. This, yeah.
So you're obviously impressed because you start the next fixture at Main Road, a Main Road debut in the FA Cup win over Leicester. But unfortunately, John, a clash with David Speedy holds up your progress. What happened in that game? Because it keeps you out for a little while. And am I right in saying you were offered a new contract as well around that period?
Yeah, I went in for a tackle with Speedy and David Speedy. Listen, he was renowned for leaving a foot in. You know, he had a bit of that edge, and he cleared it. He left one in on me on my ankle. One of those, couldn't carry on, had to go off. I was out for a good while with that, and then which was unfortunate. But the good thing is Brian Orton spoke to me, and he was really complimentary, and he basically said, "You've done really well for me. It was unfortunate what's happened. Don't let it, sort yourself out, get yourself fit, and we'll look after you. Don't worry." So, and he did, to be fair. So, yeah, it was just one of those things. It was a bad tackle. I'd say it was a bad tackle, but back then you could get away with it. So
yeah, well, Speedy was from an old school era, wasn't it? It was probably dying out a bit, sort of around '94, but he was still playing his trade well. Great goal from Alan Koenig in that game. If you remember that one from about the 45 yards out chip. So you feature again at Newcastle, December '94, in a League Cup 2-0 win alongside the likes of Uwe Rosler, Niall Quinn, Paul Walsh. What was the spirit like around the camp, and what were them guys like to play with?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we went up there and we won 2-0, as you say, and to go back there twice within the same year, it was like unbelievable. But this time to come away with the 2-0 win was even better. It was such an experience. But yeah, Walshy was the joker, but ever so workhorse, worked so hard, very very, elusive. Quinny, fantastic. Uwe, still speak to him.
Yeah,
fantastic man. He's always got time for you. And they were really, they kind of knew my situation as like a youngster, if you like, trying to break through, and they never lost sight of that. Other people, Nicky Summerby, even though he was young, he was a lot more experienced. So, yeah, really good times, and we enjoyed the victory.
So the '94-'95 campaign proves to be Brian Horton's last. You feature regularly following the Newcastle fixture, including one of our finest games that season away at Blackburn. We were going for the title, lashing down rain. What do you call that one?
Well, we just beat Liverpool on the Saturday 2-1 at home. And we kind of had the idea 2 wins would keep us up. But to beat Liverpool at home and get, the first of the 6 points, if you like, was unbelievable. And then to go straight away, it was around Easter period when you played on the Saturday or on the Monday. So we went there on the Monday night, mud bath. Yeah. And then I remember I think we went 1-0 down, and I was stood on the line, and it was a deflected shot from, I think, I can't remember who it was from, Colin Hendry, I think.
Colin Hendry, yeah.
Yeah, it was like pinball, and then it ended up going through my legs. I was on the line, it went through my legs. It travelled 20 odd yards. And my son still doesn't let me live that down. But that aside, we went on and shown some true grit and character, and in tough conditions. And that the away end was full. It was it was a fantastic occasion. And yeah, it was one of the more memorable ones for me.
Sure. So did the lads know that Brian would be leaving at the end of the season? There were rumours that he told the squad sort of a little bit earlier that he would be leaving at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think I don't remember him actually coming out with those words, if you like, but you could feel a little bit of discontent, sleeping its way in, if you like, and so on and so on. And you think, something, maybe there's a bit of truth to this. The press were rumors in the press and so on, and that, the results weren't right and whatever. But to be fair to Brian Horton, he's just knuckled down, stuck to his job, worked hard, tirelessly with Mossy. And then obviously eventually the inevitable happened. I for one was like gutted when he left, because obviously he gave me my debut, but
Yeah.
I've got a lot of time for him and had a lot of time for him. So I thought, obviously things move on, but yeah, it was tough.
So I want to ask you about a player who comes in towards the end of that season, plays a few games, John Burridge, bit of a larger than life character. How was he around the training ground?
Wow, budget. You
Have you
didn't know
ever
what.
seen anything like that before?
Never, and he was crazy. Like he was crazy, but he was funny. He was so dedicated, and some of the things for a man of his age at the time,
Yeah.
like fitness wise, what he could do was unbelievable. And like for someone like myself, early, late teens, early 20s, looking at him, thinking, wow. But yeah, he was unbelievable. Some of the stuff and some of the stories he would tell you, he was just crazy. He'd be doing handstands and all sorts of stuff and back flips, and he'd be doing sit-ups while the game, press ups while the game's going on. And it was just, honestly, you never seen anything. Such a character, larger than life character. But
Yeah.
it was something I'd never seen, and I've never seen since, to be
No, I
honest.
was going to say, we certainly won't see the likes of again. So you suffer a shoulder injury, John, during the summer of '95 while on under 21 duty, I think. A new manager comes in again, Alan Ball, now in charge. Did you have any interaction with Alan, and did you feature that pre-season, his first?
Yeah, like you say, I went away with England under 21s, and Chris Bart Williams pulled my arm a bit innocuously, but pulled out of his socket. Come back, kind of got myself right a bit. Never had an operation, but just kind of strengthened it. And then Alan Ball come in, and then featured at his first pre-season. I think I might have been the subject of his first rollicking pre-season. And like I say, Quinny and Curly at the time kind of stood up for me, because we played Burnley away, and for some unknown reason, he kind of pointed me out as going to be the subject of his first rollicking, and it was only half time, and he just basically said that's not good enough for AB. And I'm sat there at the time thinking, AB, who's AB? And then, like, I think Curly went Alan Ball, and I went, oh, and he never really registered. It was more, and then he basically said, Gaffer, I think you mean a bit harsh. Is he, you know what I mean? He said, we're all in this. We're all crap, basically, And I thought, oh wow, it's a bit. And Quinny's the same, and he went, yeah, Gaffer, it's not just him. And then he kind of quickly moved. He kind of listened to him and moved on to some of the other players as well. So yeah, I was like, wow. And I actually said, oh, thanks for that, And they were like, no, you're right. It was a strange situation, but one I was grateful for. It kind of, they're the elder, more experienced players, and they're sticking up for a younger one like me. I thought it was really good.
So another player comes in around that time. I'm sure you asked about him all the time when reminiscing about your City days, Georgie Kincladsey. What are your first memories of seeing Georgie in training and what he could do with the football?
Yeah, well, bloody hell. What couldn't he do with the football? That was the thing. Just going very quickly back to Alan Ball, admittedly, he did give me a rollicking, but he also gave me a new contract, which was quite a substantial one, and allowed me time off during season in a break to get married. So it wasn't all bad, let's say. But yeah, Kinky came in. He was just on another planet. When he had the ball at his feet, he just stood and watched, and very rarely did he give it away, and very rarely did something positive not end up as a result.
More suited in today's game, maybe, Kincladsey?
Definitely.
Less challenges for him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You look at the pitches nowadays, and even though, and the way the contact's a lot less nowadays. Players are more, Kinky wasn't a great trainer by any stretch, but I guess Alan Ball accepted that because he was a maverick. So he had the other players around him to allow him just to go and do his thing. And he was, he'd never run in training. He'd always have some tight hamstring or something if we had to do some running. So, but he accepted it because of the ability and who he was. So, it was one of those things. He never questioned it. Why he wouldn't? Because someone so talented. It's like nowadays, isn't it? People like, if you like, your Mavericks nowadays tend to get away with it a little bit more.
And get on with it.
Yeah.
So injury strikes again, unfortunately, John, in a home win over Bolton with your shoulder popping out, resulting in surgery to relaying it around December time. You're only 22 still then, but how do you look back on that period with such a sustained bad run of injuries?
Yeah, it was tough. It was it was a real dark period because I dislocated my shoulder, as you say, and it was almost like it was, if not the final minute of the game against Bolton, tackle with Alan Thompson, carried off, blue light run with an ambulance to hospital, put under sedation to put it back in. It was that bad, and because it was, I think it was the second or third time that had happened now. So, the decision had to be made. But it was a tough. I was out for 8-9 months. Nowadays you're looking at 2 or 3 months. Back then it was, I've got a big 8-10 inch scar right across my shoulder, which again nowadays it's pinhole or keel. It's different. So yeah, it was a difficult time. I was in a sling for 4 weeks. Sorry, and then rehab was really monotonous. Difficult training on your own, not allowed, couldn't lift any. It was hard, it was tough.
Lots of that side's not seen, John, is what you got to go through. We hear you've got an injury, but we don't see,
and I think nowadays, if that happens to players, they've got that core support there around them. They've got guys there who will offer them the mental health side of things, because it does put you in dark places nowadays. And back then, you just kind of were expected to deal with it. And it was, and I was only young, and all I wanted to do was play football. And it was 8-9 months out of the game, and away from, because I couldn't drive, away from the club and so on, for a good period of that. It was tough to deal with. So yeah, I think if it happened now, it would be so much different.
So a couple of reserve outings follow under Les Chapman's guidance, who's yet to become the legendary kitman he's known for now. What are your memories of Les at City?
Again, another character, joker, could be serious, but had a great relationship with all his players, and that was the important thing. We all played for Les and wanted to play and do well for Les because he had your back. His training was interesting. His training was, funny at times. He'd be the joker, and yet he could be serious at the same time. So he had a mix of both, and he was a really approachable. Some great stories, great experience, and it was really. I mean, all right, you're playing in the reserves at the time, but I think even when the senior pros dropped down to the reserves to get a game or whatever, even they had the same respect for him. So I think you can learn a lot from that. If they've got his respect, then there must be something there, So yeah, he was a great character, funny, and obviously he's a legend now, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. So a disastrous season for the first team, sees them relegated at the end of the 95-96 campaign. You head off to Malta during the summer break, but are struck down with food poisoning. Were you starting to wonder, John, what you'd done wrong in a previous life? So many setbacks.
Yeah, that was the first, or one of the first holidays me and my wife Simone went on together, and we both got that poorly with food poisoning, and then we come back, and but basically you're wasting majority holiday in bed laid up, so it wasn't a holiday as such. So yeah, that was I was kind of thinking what I'd done wrong.
Have you been back to Malta since?
Yeah, we go. We, believe it or not, we've been regularly since. Lots of, not to that same hotel, mind.
That's what they didn't do often.
Yeah, but no, we do go. We've been to various parts. It's a lovely island, lovely place, and we know we've got know a lot of people there, and a lot of people who we've met there. I definitely recommend it.
So you get back playing the following September when you start against Charlton. You've already seen so many changes at the club. By this stage, Board had left. Asa Hartford was in charge as caretaker. Steve Coppell comes and goes. Phil Neal has a go. Eventually, Frank Clark comes in. What do you call of that just crazy spell of managers changing?
It was crazy. You're right. Crazy is the word, because we had so many professionals as well. Because bearing in mind, majority of those managers coming in would bring their own players in, but they wouldn't necessarily shift players out. So that squad of players was just getting being added to. So I remember it got to one point. I'm sure there was like something like 54 professionals at one point. And bearing in mind back then you could only have 14 playing in any one game, 3 subs.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking from young professionals upwards, but so there's 40 pros doing nothing on match day. You know, it just sums up the situation the club found themselves in. So, and the manager merry-go-round was crazy. You know, never really spoke to. Can't remember speaking to Steve Coppell or had much dealings with him. Asa, obviously, we knew from in and around the first team reserves and so on. Obviously, Phil Neal come in. He done a little bit, but yeah, it was great. And then Frank Clark come in, and that was even. He had a massive job to do because he was faced with, like I say, 50 odd professionals.
Crazy stuff. I mean, your final City periods comes at Sheffield United in September '96. Although you appear on the bench a couple of times at Oldham and Grimsby during the March, it was rumoured Frank Clark had made you available for transfer. Had you had much interaction with him regarding your City future?
Yeah, when he first come in, he kind of basically said, you know, those who are, you've been injured. It wasn't just me. There was had a few injuries. There was a lot coming to the end of their deep contracts, if you like. And so when he said it's it's a tough decision, but it's the easy decision for me, then they're the ones who I'll be letting go. I need to raise funds from my own players to come in, which he can understand, as all managers do. I went in. I had a meeting with him. I told him. I said, "Listen," I said, I'd appreciate you just giving me the opportunity to showcase what I can do. But, before making a definitive decision, he was respectful. It was a man-to-man meeting and so on. And he kind of, yeah, okay, then we'll see how things go. But yeah, I'll give you the opportunity. I've actually got respect for you coming in and speaking to me. I just didn't want to. If my days were going to be numbered there, I just didn't want to leave without trying to at least put up a fight.
You've certainly done that, John. I mean, you do eventually leave for Carlisle, but you were close to linking up again with Brian at Horton at Huddersfield. Yeah,
again, comes back to a bit of luck. Joe Royal come in and as manager, and he basically said, "Listen, anybody." The old transfer deadline day was in March back then, and he said to me, "Carlisle want you on loan for the rest of the season." I think there was going to be 10 games or something left, 12 games. He contracts up in the summer, so I'll be straight with you, won't be being renewed again. I've got to raise funds. Any players coming to the end are likely to be released, most of them, which he kind of, right, okay, Gaffer, I respect that. Yeah, I'll go and play football. And so I went up to Carlisle, yeah, and played there for the. But just prior to that, Brian Orton had on again very close to deadline day. We went out for training and got called back in within 20 minutes to say Brian Orton and Huddersfield had been on. They want to buy you. Got our permission to go over and speak to him. So you can go now, miss training. So got changed, showered, changed, got on the motorway over there, and then I had a phone call saying that Brian Orton's been sacked.
Right.
So that was that. I never even got over there, yeah. And I was like, that's just typical my luck. It would have been a great move. I'd gone over there a couple of weeks, consecutive weeks to watch Huddersfield. He'd invited him, and Mossy had invited me over to watch him, and then obviously they agreed that they were going to try and sign me, but he got sacked while I was on the way, so it never happened. And he ended up going to Carlisle on loan for the rest of that season.
So I hear there's another budding young Foster professional in the making, John, with your lad Harvey.
Yeah, Harvey's doing well. He's at Everton. He's in the under 16s. They signed him. They bought him from Blackburn when he was 10, I think he was. And then he's been there since. And he's just this evening, believe it or not. Found out that they're offering him a scholar. So
Fantastic.
yeah, so he's made up, and
What position does he play? What position is he?
He plays a centre mid. Very different type of player to me. CDM type player. He likes to play number 6, if you like. All number 6 and CDM were never out when I played. It was a 4-4-2.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, he plays very technical, lovely passer, very tall. He's 6 foot now. Gets around the pitch. Still, obviously, lots and lots of learning and developing to do. But yeah, I think he's got a chance, and
yeah,
he's got a fantastic attitude. So yeah, all being well, that'll take him to wherever he'll. Well, I've always said to him, just give it everything you've got, and don't have any regrets, and then wherever you end up playing will be where you're meant to be playing. Sure. Hopefully, you know, that'll be at a good level. But if you have no regrets, then you know you can't ask for any more than that. And he's got an amazing attitude to it, training, lifestyle, everything. So yeah, fingers crossed he'll do well for himself.
And fantastic news on the scholarship. Brilliant. We wish him well. Yeah. So there'll be many comparisons to the youth team level you're involved in and what you've seen Harvey involved in now, or they're completely different worlds?
Yeah, different worlds, academies, what they get for them, the pitches they play on, like snooker tables, lovely set. You know, they get first class travel, they get everything. You know, GPS this and weight and height and rate, all this, everything's done for them. They're playing against other fantastic academies, week in, week out. You know, again, gets to go abroad, and so he gets to experience a lot, which is polar opposite, really. We kind of stuck to the Northwest teams when we were playing Lancashire League. You know, obviously United was the big one for us. Liverpool's that we played at Everton, but it was Melwood and Belfield, the old training grounds for them. And then we went, you know, you didn't really go as far as you were Blackpool, maybe Preston, but they're going northeast. We went down to Chelsea a couple of weeks ago and places like that. So it's another world. I said, considering a lot of people ask me how's the difference, and I said, well, I've always said the difference now is I'm learning on my feet, even now with him.
Yeah.
You know, obviously I can provide some advice and guidance, experience, and so on, but it's just so much different. The rules are so much different now as well, and you know, so yeah, I'm still learning on my feet with him. But we've got a lot of good people around us who offer us advice and so on, and I'm not scared to ask for advice as well, which is so yeah. All being well, he'll have a good career. But yeah, it's really good to get out and about watching him every weekend. So yeah.
What's John Foster of 2022 up to?
Well, I work for the police now. Yeah, I've been in the police for 18 years. Joining. Well, this is my 18th year. Joined. I can't remember when. I think it's June 2005. I was player manager at Salford City non-league before they were the Salford City that they are now, and got offered the job full time as a manager. But within a week or two of getting offered the job there, I got accepted into the police. So I couldn't, because my training took me through the 3 months over the summer. So I had to say no to Salford, and then I joined the police, and I've been in since. So yeah, and I still play for the Force Vets and so on. So yeah, it's good.
Well, John, thanks very much for taking the time to share your tales of blue tonight. And I wish you, and especially, well, all of you and Harvey, all the very best for the future.
All right, that's brilliant, Mark. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.